So, what is with the Lost in Space sound effects at the beginning of this video? Do I really need to answer that? Look, the Swiss Family Robinson, Irwin Allen's Swiss Family Robinson, is basically lost in space on an island. That is how I viewed it in the 1970s, and that's how I view it today. And that's how it should be viewed when the show is on DVD or Blu-ray, but it's not on DVD or Blu-ray. It's left to bloody faded YouTube prints that get taken down every so often. Look, if you want to see this series now in 2026, it's on YouTube with faded prints. That's about the best you can do. But anyway, let's look at this image in front of you. Does it bring back memories? But there's more to it than memories. This show was just plain underrated and very entertaining, with some knockout music cues playing over it. I know I keep waffling on about music cues in my videos, and some people get a bit bored with it, but Richard, this guy in front of you, he was a great composer, sort of old Hollywood. He ripped off composers like Jerry Goldsmith. The Jerry Goldsmith Planet of the Apes score was ripped off in Swiss Family Robinson. But who cares? I mean, I personally don't, but I don't know about Jerry Goldsmith. Anyway, here it is. 20 episodes, 21-hour episodes, and a television movie, The Swiss Family Robinson. Cameron Mitchell as Jeremiah. Jeremiah was on the island before the Robinsons appeared. Jeremiah is a character that makes the show more pleasing to me as an adult. As a kid of the 1970s, I looked at Jeremiah and thought, oh, this is another Dr. Smith, another Fitzhugh. We've seen this before. But as an adult, in his 50s, I looked at this and said, hang on, this guy makes the whole show seem more human. He's a loner. He's been on this island. He's been alone for a long, long time, a few years. He wants to get back home. He becomes a companion to the family. He gets drunk, especially in the pilot movie. He causes problems, but he seems slightly intoxicated, wasted, or drunk during the show sometimes, but that's sort of part of the appeal. But anyway, Cameron Mitchell as Jeremiah is a big part of the appeal of this series, and the character became more interesting when I watched the show as an adult in his 50s. Martin Milner plays Carl Robinson, the father. Generally speaking, he's pretty good. There's no comment I need to add here. He was in the 1960s Twilight Zone, the Mirror Image episode, so he sort of goes back a bit. I wouldn't call him one of the great actors of Hollywood, but certainly he does a reasonably good job. That's Martin Milner as Carl Robinson in the Swiss Family Robinson. On the left is Willie Aames. He was not in the television movie that started it. He appeared in the first episode of the TV series. In the first episode of the TV series, his character was terrified of water, and this made for some compelling drama. Does that girl in the middle, standing in front of Martin Milner, need any introduction? That's Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt started out in the Swiss Family Robinson. She doesn't do a great deal in the series, but she's there. She's pleasing enough. She's fine. Is this the time tunnel? No, but it could be mistaken for being the time tunnel. There were several guests to the island. The guest stars were extraordinary. We had Alfred Ryder. Alfred Ryder was extremely good. We had Michael Ansara. We had Leslie Nielsen. we had these big names, or maybe not so big at the time, but interesting characters dropping in on the island. There was a shortage of female guest stars. I think that was Irwin Allen's doing. When Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea was in production, there was a shortage of women. Someone eventually pulled up Irwin Allen and said, "Irwin, why are there no women in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea?" Irwin responded, "They take up too much time in the makeup room." Time is money in television, and we can't have women in the makeup room taking time. So perhaps that's the reason there's a shortage of women in Swiss Family Robinson. So several wonderful guest stars. The island became sort of a drop-in centre for all these colourful characters, often convicts. Interesting characters indeed. There was a two-part episode with this guy. This is the only adventure that actually leaves the island for a certain amount of time. But eventually, of course, they go to the island. This guy goes to the island. He's a sort of mischievous type at first. Many people remember Swiss Family Robinson for this two-part episode. It was actually going to be a sort of a pilot for another television series that never happened. There was a volcano on the island. The volcano struck in the television movie that came at the beginning, and there was a later episode involving the volcano as well. I believe it was called The Treasure. Yeah, The Treasure. So that was really Irwin Allen going on full thrusters. When we had the two volcano adventures, that was more typical of the sort of stuff we got from Irwin Allen. There was also a volcano in Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the TV series. In 1980, Irwin Allen made When Time Ran Out, a movie about a volcanic eruption in Hawaii. So Irwin Allen loved a volcano, and there were two volcano stories in Swiss Family Robinson. What about other versions of Swiss Family Robinson? Well, of course, there was the 1960s Disney movie called Swiss Family Robinson. For the life of me, I just can't get into this film. I've made a few attempts at watching Disney's Swiss Family Robinson movie, but each time it sort of bores the crap out of me, and yet I love this Irwin Allen version so much. There was also a version from Canada, which came out in 1974. There were 30-minute episodes. There was a bit of conflict there because the Canadian Swiss Family Robinson and American Swiss Family Robinson came out back-to-back in 74 and 75, which caused a bit of confusion in America and Canada. In Australia, at least, we never got the Canadian Swiss Family Robinson. We only got the American one in front of you here. So there was no confusion in my end of the world. I've spoken to some online Irwin Allen fans, and they tell me that Swiss Family Robinson never got reruns in the USA. The country that made it never replayed it. And yet in Australia, my country, in the 1970s and perhaps well into 1980, it was on an almost yearly rerun. They'd dig up the episodes every year. It got a few reruns. The television movie was replayed a few times. I don't know about the UK. Did the UK get reruns of Swiss Family Robinson? It seems that Australia has always had a special fondness for these Irwin Allen television shows. But anyway, the Swiss Family Robinson, a television movie and a 20-episode TV series, highly underrated. It demands a Blu-ray release or some sort of release where people can see it. I casually mention the show to people sometimes, and they look at me with a blank expression and say, "Oh, I can't remember that." But I do remember it. The Swiss Family Robinson. Stu from Australia. Signing.